We will now call the meeting to order at 6:33 p.m. Monday, May 17, 2021. If during the course of the meeting, any discussion of any item on the agenda should be held in executive or closed session, the board will convene in such executive or closed session in accordance with the Open Meetings Act, Section 551.001, Equessential Texas Revised Civil Statutes. Members present, we have J.D. Rodriguez, Ray Aranda, Frank Torres, Juanita Alvarez, Aida Chapa, Kay Smith, Renee Alvarez, and Dr. Castro, our superintendent. Sir, would you please do the honor?
Yes, ma'am. You'll please stand. Invocation. Heavenly Father, you are a miracle-working God. Give us the vision for what your will looks like for us, and give us the faith to believe that you are the God of miracles. Show us what makes us tired and help us avoid those things. Help us to acquire a taste for those healthy things that strengthen us. Heal us from the inside out and help us make the necessary changes that advance student achievement for our parents and community success. Awaken us a fresh spirit of life, joy, excitement, and encouragement and love as we close this school year and begin focusing on next year. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
We have no audience comments at this time, so we'll go on to our superintendent's report.
Yes, ma'am. Madam President, members of the board, there is a copy of the superintendent's updates in the packet, and also give you a hard copy as well. What you have is, we'll begin with a number of updates that I have for you today. The first one is the CDC and advice for schools to continue masking as we close the school year. Over the weekend, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention clarified coronavirus advice for American schools, recommending the continued universal use of masks and physical distancing after the agency's sudden announcement that vaccinated Americans could forego masks indoors. Quote, "Our school guidance to complete the school year will not change," said the CDC Director, Dr. Rochelle Walensky. Two recent findings significantly show that people who are vaccinated and who become infected from the virus have very rare transmissions, and they are highly protected even against variants of the coronavirus. And then in closing, Educational Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona reiterated that he expects all schools to be open again for live instruction in the fall. In line with those recommendations, in Dilley ISD, our plan is to close out the year and continue with Summer Academy with masks and our other safety protocols. Any questions or comments on the masks and closing out the year with masks? Okay. Thank you, sir. The next piece under COVID-19 vaccinations. We're currently reaching out to parents and students ages 12 and up. Our current South Texas Rural Health Services Clinic now has enough vaccines for all students ages 12 and up. Students that are 17 and below will have to have their medical form complete and parent consent signed. Additionally, a parent will have to be present for that vaccination to take place. Because we only have 2 weeks left in school, we are scheduling any students who desire to have that vaccine to be done this Friday. So I do appreciate Ms. Harris and Mr. Solis for working with our students and our parents in our community, and also Ms. Gandara to help coordinate the registration of students 12 and up who wish to be vaccinated this Friday. Any questions on student vaccinations?
Thank you.
Thank you. The next brief update, Board, ESSER 3 funding. The Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Act, also known as ESSER 3, has funded and appropriated $11.2 billion for Texas schools as one-time funding. These funds are provided supplemental to all current funding sources and will not be supplanted at the state level. School systems are to use these funds to respond to the pandemic to address student learning loss caused by the result of COVID-19 pandemic, to include academic, social, emotional, and behavioral needs. Texas will make 2/3 of that funding available to Texas schools this year. For us, that 2/3 is $2.4 million over the next 3 years. The remaining 1/3 funds would be released from the state after the state creates and submits a plan for approval to the United States Department of Education. Our daily ISD plan is being developed in consultation with educators, administrators, stakeholders, and community input. I do appreciate our principals calling meetings with parents, teachers, and students as appropriate to procure feedback on the closing of the gap from multiple stakeholders. Our strategy is to facilitate a more comprehensive long-term approach to the learning acceleration that will be necessary to support all daily ISD students affected by COVID-19. Also, looking at avoiding a local physical cliff that might be caused by the expiration of these funds when they expire utilization in 2024. We'll talk a little bit more about the framework for success that we hope to support moving forward. Questions about ESSER 3 funding? Okay. This next one's a little bit more involved. The library's rainwater breach. Gallagher Construction has been making an effort. His name is Mr. Vaughn Gallagher. He's moved the offer from $5,000 to $12,000 to what now appears to be a final offer of about $15,000. He does not want to warranty the work. He stipulates that any contractor or subcontractors that we get should warranty the work. I did speak to Mr. Gallagher again this morning. What you do have in front of you, board, in here is you have a letter from Mr. Gallagher with those detailed pieces. This is now our third iteration of, it has Gallagher name, it's a one-pager that you have with you. What he has stipulated is he has taken out the second version, which says he would be responsible for any issues of warranty. And then we also have a follow-up memorandum from Jay Boynton, the architect. He has some concerns with where we are with the recommendation from Gallagher. The architect, Jay Boynton, will be here again Wednesday for a third time to visit with us and discuss the scope of the work further. What I will be recommending to this body corporate is that we meet for a special call meeting on June 7th, that we do invite the construction company, the architect, and anyone else that's pertinent to the conversation, so that you all as a body corporate can hear from the construction company and anyone else that should be there, to make a final decision on that offer that Mr. Gallagher has made to our district. I do appreciate him trying to work with us, but no guarantees, no warranty, and minimizing the request that we've made give me a little bit of a concern. So after several months of good faith effort, I'm not sure where we need to be. So again, my recommendation, as you see on the sheet and in the board update, I am recommending a special construction meeting on June 7th. What questions do you have regarding the library rainwater breach situation?
Well, I guess the concern is, of course, that they're going to not be held liable for anything after they've done this repairing.
Yes, ma'am. That has been Mr. Aranda and mine's chief concern. He continues to stipulate that the landscaping is the major issue. My contention is the landscaping may be above the foundation in some places, We have the same thing on other parts of the building where the landscaping is above the foundation. And it really should not be. The landscaping should be below the foundation. But we've had no rainwater breach. But there's still standing water outside of the building. So to me, his stipulation that the landscaping's causing it when they cut a hole
Yeah.
is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
So at that point, he keeps going back to saying, I don't even think we're responsible. So I'm not sure we're at an impasse, but we're getting pretty close to one. So I believe at this juncture, it's time for us to come together as a team and listen to our parties, and then this board decide the final direction we want to go.
I believe the school district made a good faith effort for Mr. Gallagher to fix this issue, and I think it's all for, if he thinks that amount would fix it, then why don't he come fix it himself and save the money? At this point, I think we just add it to the rest of the inspection we have going on, and maybe try to settle on that aspect.
And at that point, it would, yes, sir, you're absolutely right. At that point, it would be then prudent to also invite attorneys to weigh in after everybody weighs in at the very end. So that way you can make your decision with all the information on the table. Thank you, Mr.
Yeah,
Alvarez.
I think that's correct, what the two statements you and Mr. Alvarez made. Only that, because I feel like they wipe their hands with that, sir, and anything that we do legally further down the road is going to absolve them of any wrongdoing. Because they've already remedied this situation, they think that it's over, and we will, later on, we find out other issues, then he's gonna come back and say, no.
Yep, that's exactly our concern. Very good.
With the recent rains, are we still having an issue with the water?
Yes, sir. Because of the mitigation efforts, they have been much less. One of the rains did breach pretty significantly, but they haven't been as significant because of the canals and whatnot. Excuse me. After June 7th, if we decide to go a different direction than where Mr. Gallagher is offering, we will need to spend district funds to remedy the situation and get that sealed properly, and then seek our reclamation through potentially legal means. But because of the beautiful and awesome rain we've been getting recently, we do need to do that more quickly than later.
So let me ask you something. So in the meanwhile, we're waiting to figure out what's the next step as to what to do pursuant to the information you just brought forth to us. So, and just so happens that we've been having all this rain. So in the meanwhile, we're waiting to try to figure out how to resolve, how to move forward, and we still have continued damages going on over there. At what point do we say, okay, we need to hold them accountable up to here, or I'm not sure where we come in to say, you know what, we've got to do something now ourselves to stop this from damaging our buildings any further?
Yeah, absolutely, a great question. With board approval, we can just move forward and just RFP in fact, to RFP, it's not going to take long for us to RFP the work, if this body corporate is okay with that. What we didn't want to do is go ahead and get that process started if there was a chance they were going to come here and remediate it. But we're at that time. It needs to happen.
Okay.
But if you RFP it, I mean, are we gonna have a architect design for it, or are we just gonna cover the whole up?
Yeah, that's a great question. We'll be talking to Mr. Boynton on Wednesday about the need for an architect versus just a repair.
Okay.
I suspect it's just going to be a repair, but since he's involved in helping us and guiding us along the way,
Whatever his recommendation
yes, sir.
is.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. We
I
can
mean,
follow some of his recommendations.
I mean, I understand, I'm just saying,
Some severe weather.
just to cover the whole, I mean, we are gonna have to put rebar and some sort of
Reinforcement.
reinforces in there, and not just put cement in there and cover the whole.
Correct. And any construction contractor worth their salt would be able to do that, but you're 100% right, sir, that those things will have to happen.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything else?
Does anybody else have any other questions?
So if, on the, right below that, we will be asking you to hold a date for June 7th for a construction meeting, June 14th for a budget meeting, and then we'll have a budget workshop, rather, and then we'll have our regularly scheduled meeting on the 21st. I know it's a lot for June, but we've got a little bit of heavy lifting to do moving forward.
So on that June the 7th, you're going to have architects,
Construction,
Gallagher,
and then our attorneys as well.
attorneys here.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
June 14th.
Would that be something short, sir, or could
The budget workshop or the construction?
the construction?
Depending on how far and long people go, I suspected at least 2.5 hours is what
Okay.
I'm anticipating. Yes, ma'am.
Because, I mean, you know how we try to get the budget, and usually that takes
Some
some
discussion.
time, yeah. But to get credit for us as a board, we have to all be here, no?
For the budget workshop, yeah. We can change the date from the 14th to another day as well.
What other day would be good, that everybody can make it?
Well, it's just our internal workshop.
You get credit for that?
Well, no, I'm asking. Do we get
I don't-
credit for
I don't
that?
think so.
No? Oh, okay.
This is the workshop on the 7th, and if y'all have a meeting on the construction on 14th, I'm okay with missing that.
So switch it, or what do you sir?
We can, there's some timelines are implicated depending on what y'all decide. Would it make sense if we move the 14th to maybe the 15th on a Tuesday? The whole week, gotcha. Okay,
I'll be gone the 7th, the 11th, but I can just zoom in,
okay.
figure it out by 5.
So move the budget workshop to the 7th. Okay.
What if you move the budget work after the regular board meeting? Or do we need it before the,
No, not necessarily. You don't adopt the budget till
yeah? Or
Yeah.
what- Do it after the regular board meeting?
till August.
The workshop on the week of the 7th is whatever.
We can. We can actually do both. We'll work with your schedule. The 7th and the 9th, will that work for everyone?
I'm okay with that.
7th and 9th?
I just can't do it from the 16th through the 20th.
Mr. Aranda, 7th through the 9th? Mr. Torres? Good. Ms. Alvarez? Mrs. Smith? And Mr. Alvarez?
Not that I know of, yeah.
Very good. Isabel, so we'll move it to the 7th and the 9th, and then we'll have the regular one. 7th will be let's keep the construction one on the 7th and then the workshop on the 9th.
And that would be at 6:30 still, sir, or what?
Earlier is better if your time allows.
Can we do 6, everybody, or is that gonna be a conflict for somebody?
I can be sick, I'm just gonna zoom in.
Okay.
I'm away from here.
For the 7th?
It's not easier to do 6 on the 9th, and that's because I work on the 7th, but it's,
Oh, okay.
you never know.
Are we okay with
6 p.m. on the
30 on 7th?
and 6:30 on 7th. Okay,
Turn 7th, and we do 6 on the 9th,
perfect. Okay.
just keep a reminder that we
Yeah,
always miss it.
make sure, yeah.
We'll get friendly reminders. We'll get friendly reminders.
Yes,
Isabel's good at that.
she is excellent. The next brief is very brief. We're continuing to review the budget template for projected revenues based on property values. We have met with LaSalle County and working on meeting with Frio County. Estimates will be discussed at now our June 9th board meeting where we are with our property value estimates. One of the things we will be presenting to this body corporate is, at least during the workshop, that is, a no raise option, a 1% option, a 2% raise option, and a 3% raise option for all employees. We are also continuing to assess a study we commissioned with TASB of how our positions rank with market value. We do have 4 positions that are significantly below market value. Every other position is really close to market value, but 4 have above 10% below market value, which would have some special attention that probably needs to be paid. And then the final one, and again, without going into a lot of detail, we'll go into more detail in the workshop. Our new teachers are right on par with new teachers across the region for market value. We do have the 15 to 25-year veteran teachers that are below market value. So we'll be looking at some options there for your consideration to try to catch up on more veteran teachers to market value. So again, we'll be bringing you some options to consider, but that's kind of a preview of coming attractions for our upcoming board workshop. The next brief is the Dilley ISD Framework for Success. We've been working on this framework even before ESSER funding, but this is just a very brief diagram to highlight, and you'll get a more deep presentation on this in June workshop, but there's 3 big components to ensuring that we're addressing the whole child: the academics, the behavior, and the social emotional. So under academics, a Tier 1 student is on grade level. A Tier 2 student is a little bit below, and then Tier 3 student is far below. So those students need specific supports and helps. Same thing with behavior. You have some students that are never in trouble, Tier 1. A Tier 3 student's always in trouble or very frequently in trouble. The way we support our students is a big deal because it can't just be about consequences. It's about us providing strategies and supports for our kids. And then finally, the third category is the social emotional part, a student being aware about their feelings, about how their behavior impacts others. Resiliency is how do I bounce back when things go wrong? And then restorative justice is if I messed up, if I did something wrong, how do I fix it? How do I make it right? I do appreciate Ms. Harris, who's taken the lead with our discipline committee as we work on putting together a process and a system to support our kids through all 3 categories. We know if you have a behavior like attendance is really bad, well, of course that's going to impact academics. If you have something going on at home, socially, emotionally, a difficult situation at home, parents going through a divorce or something like that, that definitely can impact your behavior and definitely can impact your academics. So our awareness about our kids and their struggles and how we support them has to change. And that will help us accelerate the learning for our kids. So again, this is just a broad framework that we will continue to develop. So anyway, just we wanted to highlight what we've been working on and then where we're going. Any questions on that broad highlight?
No, sir.
Okay, very good. This next one's a pretty interesting deal. Senate Bill 1882 a few years back was started by the state of Texas. The federal government and the state of Texas and pretty much every state in the country has similar funding and supports for school districts. Here's where this kind of came about, just briefly the history. In the next 5-10 years, the silver tsunami in our country will be coming to an end. What is a silver tsunami? The silver tsunami is the baby boomers. The baby boomers who have run so much of our work that cannot be outsourced, like plumbing, like HVAC, like electrical. The folks who've done that their whole lives are retiring and they're not being replaced. That's putting our entire country in a very precarious situation. Those jobs are paying more and more and more because there's fewer and fewer people who want to do them. So here's what the federal government and state government has asked school districts to do. Please help us fill those jobs. As a matter of fact, when you see Domain 1 of accountability, 40% of it is CCMR. Domain 3, 30% of it is CCMR for accountability. That's a big emphasis from the state saying, help us fill these spots. I know Mr. Alvarez and others has really highlighted the need for us to enhance our career technical education pieces. Without reading all the bullets, essentially there is funding available for startup costs for planning in 1882. It is a partnership that the startup cost, you can get up to like $700,000 for expanding, welding or adding other pieces to it. And then you have, depending on how many students, you get $1,000 of funding per student in your high school as well as your middle school for these programs. So essentially, what the 1882 is this: you partner either with a charter, an actual charter school program, a university or higher education, or a nonprofit. Universities have been very reticent. Universities don't want to do it. They're like, we don't want to try to run schools. Charters, very few charters have been welcomed into public schools, so that's rare. What is more common is nonprofits who come in and help support the operations of it. So what we are doing right now is we're just exploring an 1882 partnership. But what I want to do is have a deeper presentation for this body corporate so that you fully understand what are the benefits and drawbacks of a potential 1882 partnership. Questions or comments on our exploration of Senate Bill 1882 partnerships?
I have a question. Our partnership we have with the junior college in Uvalde, being that they're, I don't know what the right word is, associated with Salt Ross, is there any way that we could bridge to that university, through that partnership we have with the junior college?
Excellent. The answer is yes. This 1882 partnership would necessarily have to include them in a bigger role as we look at what certifications, what opportunities that we might have, as well as any local businesses that we can partner. The idea with the 1882 partnership is use local business. What business do you have access to? How can you support them? For an example, now we have a construction company locally who's struggling to have employees. This partnership could help pay internship costs. Yeah, internship costs, where students would be paid while they're in school to work through these pieces. So there's some opportunities there to expand and explore us being stronger at providing licensure, high-paying jobs, livable wage income. So yes, sir, that would have to expand with the local colleges. Any other questions or comments? If not, here in the near future, we'll be bringing some folks to present to you in more depth, about a 30, 45-minute presentation on all that it entails. The next one, board, is the Texas Park and Wildlife update. You do have a copy of the draft lease agreement. This is our third iteration, third version. I do appreciate Mr. Juan Estrada, who's been working diligently with me on this. My intent is not for you to read it completely and understand it today. This is our third version that we will be, we're trying to schedule something next week with the director of the Texas Parks and Wildlife and get input from the director. What I do need from you is if you will read through this lease agreement at your leisure, please do send me and copy the board president with any questions you might have. I feel good about where we are right now with the current lease agreement, but I would like your input. So this won't happen, obviously, without your approval, but if we can get Texas Parks and Wildlife to approve it, we're going to be in good shape to bring it to you and then the city council for final approval. Our attorneys actually drafted this on our behalf. The city council's attorney made some revisions that were non-substantive and not material changes, and that's where we've landed now after several iterations and the numerous meetings. So again, at your leisure, if you would please read it in depth, and if you have any questions on the interim or now, I could answer it. But really the biggest piece is going to be if the Texas Parks and Wildlife Director approves it, then at that point, it will just require your approval as a body corporate and then the city council. Questions on the current place we are with the lease agreement?
I do have, even if going through all that and the city still agrees that they want to terminate early, they can do so?
Yes, there is that option. There is a 5-year requirement minimum Why 5 years? Because if they choose to do that, we need time to do something else, if that's what this body corporate desires. And thank you for bringing that, because those are the kinds of things we need to talk about. I don't know if the Texas Parks and Wildlife will approve it without a termination option, but what is your thinking on it? Would you like to see it extended or just eliminated?
Well, I'm just curious as to that they have that option at all. And after we go in there and we've get this 100-year lease and we've done all these upgrades and everything, and then 5-10 years down the road, they say, you know what, guys? Sorry, we're taking it back.
Yeah, that's an excellent question, because they're still the proprietors of the property. It's like if you're leasing your house, you would have that option to require someone vacating it. So I think legally we probably have to have some number in there.
See, the other thing to this is, regardless of who holds the lease, bottom line is, it's still a community park because it's funded through Texas Parks and Wildlife.
Correct.
So it's still a community park, and it'll always be a community park.
Well, I don't think that's the question. The question is that we're footing the bill. In the long run, we're footing all of the bill primarily, right?
Correct.
But my concern is that at any given point, the city can come back and say, guys, you're done.
You can't use it as a high school baseball park, or is that what you're trying to say?
No,
At a certain point that, oh no, it's just gonna be a city park. You're gonna have to build your own school.
No, I think what Ida's talking about, if we go through expense of getting the bleachers, the handicap restrooms and everything, I'd be okay with that, with one requirement, that they will refund us whatever money we put in.
I was just gonna say that.
I mean, with knowing if they have to, which I think, so far everybody's been there, everybody's been in this board and the council, we all want to work together, but one day there may be somebody
That's
who won't.
right. That's
And I
right.
think if it's anywhere in this contract that if we spend 100,000 and they have to reimburse us for any upgrades, then I think that would
Yeah.
really protect us from them. In case you get that one group on either side who just wants to,
Dissolve
conflict.
whatever relationships have been established. That's what I'm looking at. Long-term, when you say, hey, that gives them an open deal to say, hey, we want to shut it down, you guys, sorry. And we've already invested all this money and time and effort to try to bring these fuels up to par or whatever, and then they turn around and say, guys, and it's just like Mr. Alvarez pointed out, you have a different group of people over there, and they don't care about it, and then they say, you know what, cut ties with the school. We want it back. And we've already put all this money into it,
and I think if there's a clause in there that we will be reimbursed, that'll protect the school. I mean, because there has to be some good faith
effort,
negotiations.
yeah.
So what I'm hearing is if we add a clause for refund or reimburse the district for expenses invested in the case of the termination lease, would that make everyone comfortable moving forward?
I'd be
Yeah.
comfortable with that.
We'll make that modification, I'll share it back.
I'm a little concerned with Mr. Aranda saying that it's a community park. Is it, but would it be a problem? Remember, we used to have this problem where the community wanted to come in and run all these kind of tournaments and.
Well, but we still have first priority.
They would lease it through us.
It's community.
We manage it, right.
The initial agreement was for the school to have full use and full responsibility. But if someone in the community wants to rent the field, the city does not get involved. It goes to the school. The school
We manage.
So we manage the
We have to manage
That's
whatever
correct.
situation.
Yes, because we had that problem because community people wanted to come in. Okay,
Yeah, Mr. Aranda's absolutely right, that we would be the managing leaseors.
okay.
Very good, and thank you so much, Ms. Chapa and Mr. Alvarez. That's the kind of feedback I need from you as we move forward in now iteration 4. Please do continue to read it carefully, and then we'll circle back again with it shortly. Just, these next ones are just pretty brief. We have submitted an RFP for van. Our attorneys have stipulated that unless it's a buy board that I'm talking about the technology van, we still need to go out for RFP. There's nothing in law under the procurement regulations of the state that allows us to just go buy one at this juncture. So they did say we are able to move forward and notify more folks, like just walk with them and say, hey, listen, by the way, we have this RFP. So that's a good question. I didn't ask for the board can do it. Certainly Matthew, myself, other staff. But let me see if there's any, I don't know why it would be a problem if we can do it. Yeah, post on the website and the paper, et cetera. That makes sense. I don't think there's a problem with that, but I'll double check. But we'll certainly, I'll certainly verify that. But if we're able to do it, I'm not sure whether that would be a prohibition.
And why is it that they're not able to meet our specifications on what it is we're asking for? Is it they just don't have it? Is it, I know that there's a shortage of stuff out there with vehicles and stuff. So what seems to be the problem? This is the fourth attempt.
Fourth attempt. Yeah, there's a shortage, but I know even our local dealership, they had one at one point, but they haven't found one since then.
Is there certain specific criteria that we were asking for?
No, our criteria was pretty broad.
Oh, okay.
I do know that there's dealerships in San Antonio that have these vans available.
But typically, if a dealership doesn't have it in stock, they can just get it from somewhere else.
Typically, they can. Yep.
Okay, but did we specify it had to be from here exactly?
New. No,
I mean,
we
this
did
is
not.
taking too long. These folks need their stuff.
Right. Yeah. I anticipate we'll hit a success point soon, but
Has it
I know it's the
been
first time.
posted, or you're gonna post?
Yes, sir. It is. It's been posted.
Okay.
When is
When is the closing?
Oh my goodness.
A couple weeks?
It should be closing next week because we posted
Next week.
last week. Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm getting ahead of yourself, but is that for the van and the truck?
Both. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Ms. Chop, I hope our frustration will be eliminated soon. I anticipate we're going to be more aggressive in reaching out to dealerships.
I know, sir, this is probably
Yes, ma'am.
over a year already.
Yeah, I think a year and a half. So,
I think part of the technology, part of that technology van, right?
yes, sir.
I mean, that was because, remember, it was real specific, they wanted a V6 and.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Was there a certain thing that we were asking for that makes it kind of hard for these people to be able
So
to?
the first go around there was, I mean, it was just, it really limited, but I think eventually we'll be there.
And then the truck is the transmission's out on truck number 43 or vehicle number 43. It's at 209,814 miles.
Golly.
And so we could repair the transmission and hope that it lasts for a minute, but other parts of the engine are failing. So we've put out an RFP for that. And so we'll bring both of those up to you as soon as we are able to identify some options. So hopefully that'll be this summer. And then the final piece, just as a reminder, the first cycle in June, employees who were here last year and then returned this year will be receiving their one-time stipend during the first pay period of June.
Okay, but can we really be clear about that so people understand that they would have had to have been here at the start of the school year, correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. And I sent an email out to all employees with that information. You had to complete the entire year last year, finish out the year, and then start again this year. And if you departed early, you also were not qualified. So,
So that way it's understood by all.
yes,
what-
ma'am.
That's for all employees?
All employees, correct, who were here all of last year and returned this year and finished the year. Madam President, members of the board, that concludes my copious updates. Now we will move in, if it pleases the board, with the principal updates. Mr. Martinez?
Matt?
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Castro. We have here this evening. A little bit of an update from what we brought to you last time we were here with our board presentation reflective of Summer Academy. So as we've had some time and we've been able to work through some logistics and some planning items, my report is giving you just a little bit more of information about finalizing some Summer Academy plans that we have here, and then also some big focus items that we're going to be having coming up for the 21-22 school year. So again, finalizing the schedule for Summer Academy, we are going to start on June 7th, and we are now going to finish on July the 1st. Give you a copy of the schedule, what a student would look like at the elementary campus. We are going pretty much a full day. They would enter the building at 7:30 for breakfast, and then they would be able to leave about 3:30 after finishing the enrichment in the afternoon. And Summer Academy will be held at the elementary campus for elementary students. Right now, as current projections, we have roughly about 100 students that are going to be required to come to Summer Academy from the elementary campus. And then we also have asked our teachers at every grade level from pre-K through 5th grade to be able to have a recommended list. Now, these students are on the recommended list because they have a documented learning loss. So these are students, again, that have been able to go through the school year, but as we've had a very challenging school year, they have demonstrated a documented learning loss, whether it be in math and reading. So those students are also going to be recommended, and we're going to be reaching out to those parents to be able to have those students attend. Staffing, giving you a little bit of an update from the last time I was able to talk with you. We have increased our commitments from staffing. I'm very proud to say that we are up to 20 staff members that have committed to work in our Summer Academy. So I'm very appreciative of the staff. I know this has been a long year, and to have 20 staff members that are going to be able to serve students in the summer, I'm very proud. So right now we're at 14 teachers that have committed to be able to teach Summer Academy, and 6 paraprofessionals that have committed to be able to help with Summer Academy. So again, reading and math is going to be the primary focus that we have for our academics that are going to be in the morning, and then the enrichments in the afternoon. I'm happy to say that we have been able to expand on some of the enrichment opportunities. I have them listed, but even as we had a little bit of an update from at the time of this board report, I'm able to say that we have added a couple more options for our enrichment as well. So we also have an obstacle course challenge, which I think is going to be appealing to a lot of the kiddos. So we were trying to think different and seeing what we would have children be interested in. And then another option that we have is a brain teaser puzzle workshop, in addition to the ones that you have listed there. So we're really trying to have the students' interest and piquing those students that are going to be able to help gain some more knowledge and skills in the summer. So with that, giving them an opportunity to come in and do something fun, do something that they're going to be able to want to come into Summer Academy. That's really what we're trying to accomplish here, giving them the new take on what summer learning can be, because I know summer learning for a lot of students hasn't been very positive. So we want to make sure that we're changing that and bringing some things that are going to be fun and interactive for the students. Going on to the second part of my board report, focus items for next year. Social emotional learning. Throughout the district, this has been something that we have been having a tremendous amount of conversations on throughout this school year. As an administrative team, we all recognize that social emotional learning is going to be a big part of our direction moving forward. So being able to train not only administrators but also teachers and staff members on how to have more resources and tools in our toolboxes. I can honestly say in the past we have been too reliant on some dated forms of ways to be able to deal with the children that we have in the school year. So with that, being able to broaden those approaches, being able to work more with the whole child, have better understandings of our children and their needs, to be able to work with them and not just automatically go to those disciplinary actions that we've used in the past, being able to have those expand in the future. It's really exciting because it is going to be something that I think is going to be a positive thing moving forward with the district. Implementation of a curriculum management plan. We have worked as an administrative team in developing a curriculum management plan that's going to be able to take us into the future. It has been a need for quite a while here in the district to be able to have a curriculum management plan. So I'm happy to say that we are in the process of developing that and working together. And all of us on the administrative team that have been a part of the Curriculum Leadership Academy, we're having an opportunity to provide input to be able to have where we're working through it together in order to build it to a way that it's going to be working for Dilley ISD. We can take a curriculum management plan that's out there that's going to be something that it might be successful in Dilley ISD, but then again, it might not. So with us having the opportunity to develop it together, I think it's going to meet our needs and it's going to fit with Dilley ISD. And I think that's going to be the best way that we're going to have it work going forward. For my campus in particular, another focus item is going to be reading academies for teachers. Now, this is going to be applicable in kindergarten through third grade teachers and principals, so myself included, are going to attend reading academies. This is going to be with a partnership with Region 20. They're going to be able to train us, and it's going to be over the course of 10 days over the next school year. We are having a few days before the school year starts, and then we are having some days sprinkled in throughout the remainder of the school year. So it is going to be something that is a requirement from the state of Texas. So our teachers, kindergarten through third grade, and as well as administrators, we're going to be having that to better support our reading foundation at the kindergarten through third grade levels. And then continuing focusing on special education. I'm very proud to say that special education has been a focus here, and it has been with the spotlight. It has been something that has been needing attention here in the past, and we have been able to really make a lot of gains. We still have ways to go in regards to making sure that we are doing all we can in order to meet the needs of all of our children that have qualified to be in the special education program. So we have made quite a few refinements, but we are continuing to make enhancements and doing things to better serve our students in the special education program. So with that being said, just a few of the things that we're going to be focusing on for next year. But in closing, it's an exciting time, and it is going to be something that as we narrow down here these last few weeks of this school year, I see a lot of good positive things going into this summer and also into the next school year. So if you have any questions, I'd love to answer any questions that you may have.
And somebody have any questions?
No.
I do have one, sir, Mr. Martinez.
Yes, ma'am?
When you say the 61 students, are we also kind of reaching out to those that are really suffering from this last school year? I mean, are we really trying to reach out and try to help those students that are really at risk right now?
Yes,
Are those
ma'am.
part of those?
Well, in the criteria for those 61 students that are having for attendance purposes and then 39 students for academic purposes, we recognize that at our campus, a lot of the focus and a lot of the attention, it has to be on the parents. Our kiddos cannot drive themselves to school. They cannot bring themselves, or they can't take themselves to the doctor when they're sick. So we are working hand in hand with those parents. Those students that I mentioned, about 100, those are going to be required because either they have failed in the academics per board policy with their studies, or they have accumulated more than the allowable absences. Students have to attend 90% of the school year. So if they have accumulated more than those days that they're allowed, then we are working with them. And also those other students that we are aware that maybe don't meet those criteria, that's where the recommended list comes in. We know that there's other children that are going to be needing help and support, and that's where we're really reaching out. On that recommended list, what my mission was to provide for teachers was the opportunity to have a good amount of kids on that list. We put about 20 to 25 on that list because we know that there are going to be some that are going to say, I'm not going to be able to send my child, but there will be some that say, hey, I really like what's going to go on here in the summer, and I want my child to be a part of it. Hence why they would be able to come in and have a chance to be able to experience Summer Academy with us this year.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Martinez? All righty, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Board. A pleasure as always.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Next.
Ms. Harris, thank you so much. Ms. Harris?
Good evening, Madam Board President, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Castro. I am going to highlight my report, but before I do that, I must say that today as a principal was my first time hosting the D Awards at my campus. And I don't know where that program came from, but it is an awesome acknowledgement for our students. And it was definitely exciting time to be able to acknowledge students for their performance throughout the year, especially as difficult as this year was. Each one of those rewards meant something. So thank you for establishing that already. That program was definitely amazing on today. So for my board report, I am going to highlight 3 areas: our summer academies, also our summer instructional planning, and then our focus for the 21-22 school year. We are moving full speed ahead for our summer academies. So we do have our staff on board. We do have 7 teachers who will be teaching our core areas. That will be for students who did not successfully pass the math and reading areas. And then we have an additional 2 that will be helping us with the enrichment side, and then another 11 paraprofessionals who have signed up. I've actually have a standby list for about 3 of them. So as we fill those sessions, we'll add more to our session choices and options for students. So we really look forward to our summer academies. The other great thing that we've been able to do is work with our Dilley Public Library, Ms. Hedetta. She is going to allow us to bring in 50 students. Those are our students who were not successful in reading this school year, and they're partnering with us so that 2 days a week, they'll actually go and participate in the summer reading program at the library. And at the conclusion of this program, and the students will get points along the way, but at the conclusion, she's actually going to have a special performer for us. So she's going to have a concert for students at the end of the program. So we're really excited about that. And then to add, literacy will be a focus for us. In each session, students will be required to read, and we're going to use a strategy called the Marquez reading strategy for this. So we're really going to work on students' fluency. We're going to give them a pre-test and also a post-test. So if I'm in culinary, then I'm going to read an article or some literature surrounding culinary during that enrichment session. And again, we'll be tracking points on campus and doing some giveaways during our Summer Academy. The other important key piece for us is that we are going to start our instructional planning for the 21-22 school year this summer. So my team leaders are going to be at the campus during the summer, and we're going to start really analyzing our data. We're going to really start delving into looking at what learning gaps that our students have had from this past school year, looking at all of our data sets. So not only the STAR data, but we also have some data from Achieve 3000. We have data from Study Island, and also our teachers were making assessments on Eduphoria. So we'll be pulling in all of our different data sets and truly identifying which standards our students are low in. Well, why is this important? That's important because the next step will be to build our assessments. And so this year we've kind of assessed students as teachers finish the unit. Again, we've been working as an administrative team on our curriculum management plan, but now we're going to move to where we're assessing every 6-week period. So whatever the teacher covers in that period, then they'll assess because it'll be easier to track that information as we move throughout the school year. So I have my special education coordinator for our campus attending, our ESL coordinator, and then also I have two of my department chairs who are not teaching summer school that will be there. Of course, they will substitute for us as needed. And then the other 2 will join us late summer after Summer Academies has finished. And then the last item is our focus for the 21-22 school year. So as Dr. Castro stated earlier, we are focusing on academics, and again, that piece is really starting this summer, just because we really need that successful launch. We know our students have been at home for a while, maybe in between remote and in person, so we really got to be prepared instructionally for when they arrive day 1 at the beginning of next school year. We are also focusing on behavior and our strategies that we use there, and social emotional learning. So focusing on the whole child. Again, our students self-aware, right? Their self-control, interpersonal skills with one another. A huge need. And these are skills that we want to have the opportunity to teach our students during our pause class, our pause time, which is about a 30-minute period built in our school day. So we'll focus on that for the 21-22 school year. We have added a elective course titled STEAM, which is Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Mathematics. My teacher this summer will be attending a coding class because he's going to learn about that, and then he's also applying for a couple of grants to try to get us some robotics in there as well. So We have moved our added teacher, he's accepting this position, which is great, and we are, again, moving into our STEAM program. We're also going to continue our Marquez reading. So in the spring, we did train our special education paraprofessionals and all of our staff on Marquez reading. Tomorrow, we are excited about Mr. Marquez himself coming out and providing the trainers session for us tomorrow, professional learning session. So with that, we will continue to incorporate that into our daily plans as we move into the fall for next school year. Again, we'll continue to focus on our special education population as we have this school year, but then also the huge academic piece of standards alignment, but we're getting a jump start on that this school year. So we look forward to an awesome summer, lots of planning going on. Essentially, we're going to try to take as many students as possible. If they all want to come, like I said, I have a couple of staff right near here on standby for us, but we will try to make it work for our students who are interested in our summer program.
Awesome.
Are there any questions for myself at this time?
Thank you for all your work you've been doing. But you said social emotional coach or teacher, what did you say? Social emotional lead?
Social emotional learning, that's actually like lessons.
Correct, but you mentioned you have like a position for that.
No, sir, we have a teacher that, I have a elective position that was added prior to that I'll be keeping. So it's going to be STEAM now.
Okay.
STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So I didn't really gain a position. It's essentially just changing into STEAM.
Okay, I thought I heard you say you had like an SEL person lead, but I guess not.
I could briefly add, Madam President. Thank you, sir, for asking that. As we look at a position for social emotional learning and resiliency and restorative justice, the new DAEP ISS person, that's who we want that to be. With ESSER funding, we hope to fund that position, as well as resources, materials, supports, and supplies. I was intent on asking the board for a social emotional line code or budget. It's a huge need, especially now, but it's always been a huge need. But now with ESSER funding, we'll be able to produce and provide more significant training and support and materials along social emotional learning.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Did you have any more questions?
Thank you, though.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you very much.
Keep up
Thank
the
you so
good work,
much.
Ms. Harris.
Thanks. Mr. Solis?
Good evening, Madam President, board members, Dr. Castro. I submitted my board report on graduation. We have the big event coming up in a couple weeks, probably the last time we all get to be all in the same room to talk about that. But before we talk about graduation, I do want to update you on our seniors. And I'm very happy, very proud to say that the 3 seniors I've been reporting that were at risk of graduating will be completing their credit recovery tomorrow, and the last one on Wednesday. So I'm proud to say we'll have 61 out of 62 of the seniors graduating.
Awesome.
We have one student that has not returned to school. All our efforts to try to bring him back in to complete his credits have not been successful. As even doing the home visits and offering to give him a ride to school in the morning, he just disappears on us. But we put a lot of time and effort into these kids. Myself personally at lunch, giving them my lunch, working them, helping them with the math, and that way they can get their math credit. Ms. Solis, the counselor, set up the whole program. We have teachers coming in and helping them with their English and math as well, so they can get their credit so they can graduate. They'll be finishing up again on Wednesday. Also, we had 23 seniors that enrolled in OSHA. These seniors have not completed a CC-MAR point for the year. We're down to 21 of those 23 students completing their OSHA certification. The last 2 we expect to finish on Wednesday as well, Thursday at the latest. And the last 2 complete will be at 86% CC-MAR for the class of 2021, which is a good start for accountability next year. So that's 86%. So that's a good start off next year. So I'm very proud of that. In the board report, I put on there starting out what we've done so far to get ready for graduation, ordering the stage, ordering the chairs. We got flowers going. Last time I mentioned I'm bumping it up to 3 people on the track. That's only because we're able to get the extra chairs to accommodate that. I thought it'd be a nice little treat for parents considering what's everybody's been going through the past year with COVID and everything. We're making our senior ticket packets already. I guess the biggest question I have is, do I follow the same plan as last year with the COVID restrictions? Or considering, there's more people vaccinated, we are in an outdoor space, do I just open it up and have a regular graduation? So I'm up for suggestions on that part, but I'll go through the plan and we can kind of figure out which way we want to go. This year, like I said, each senior will get 13 tickets. They're allowed 10 in the stands. We're going to block it off in a pot of 10, and they'll allow 3 on the track. The top 10 parents will sit in the front row, and the top 10 guests will sit in the first row of the bleachers. So if you flip the page, I provided you two little maps of how the parking will work, where students and graduates will enter, and also the second map shows how maintenance will set up the parking and try to control traffic as much as possible. So when everybody leaves, there's not a traffic jam. We do reserve the first few rows for the senior parents as a reserve parking, kind of like a little tribute to them for what they've done and what they've put their kid through and support them all the way. If you turn the page, there is the seating chart of the bleachers and the track. It's not to scale, they're just placeholders to kind of give a visual. In the bleachers, those squares or rectangles or pods of 10, there's enough to fit all 62 graduates if they were all there, and also space for the band on the right. The last time they were on the far right of the bleachers, so now we can fit them in where they normally sit during football games. In front of that is the track seating. Again, that's enough for all the senior parents, 3 chairs per family. They'll enter like they did last year between the wall of the bleachers and the last row of the parents, and kind of go up, kind of give that little intimate feeling for the parents to see their graduate walk through the aisle, and then they'll take their seats. On the other page is the design of the stage. This year, I'm going to add in the valedictorian as a seater up on the stage. I think it'd be kind of neat to have her up there. She's also going to be part of the master of ceremonies. It should be more student focused. She'll take some of my speaking roles, introducing people. I thought it'd be kind of a nice little thing to include that person in there as much as possible. She earned the right being the valedictorian. The flow of diplomas will be the same, come on the stage, meet in the middle. Depends on whether you want to do a handshake or kind of do the little podium we did last year. I know the restrictions were pretty high last year, they're not as much this year. I think we're probably good on going with the handshake that we've normally done. And then they'll exit around the back and take their seats. And the page after that shows how they would exit. Same thing as last year, they'll exit out. There'll be the reunification of the parent and the student at that one spot to take the family photo, and the parent gets to escort their child out of the ceremony and then go on to take their own family pictures with their guests up there. So that stays the same. And then I did throw in the agenda, what it would kind of look like, how the ceremony will flow. I am working on getting a guest speaker this year. Last year we didn't have one because of the COVID restrictions, but we will have a guest speaker this year. It's just not on this one, it's just not totally updated. So that one will be in there as well, but it gives you an idea how it will flow during the ceremony. I also believe the names were shared with you, which ones you would be announcing. That was done today, I believe. I think last year I gave the names and you guys decided which ones you wanted to go up and present. If you want to stay with that, that's fine. If you want me to move the names around, I can do that also. All depends on what you would like for me to do. So that's pretty much the ceremony. You look through there, you'll see where it says class officer. That's either going to be the valedictorian or salutatorian or the secretary. They'll come up and have a speaking role to get more kids involved in their celebration and get them recognized for their senior year and their accomplishments. And that's pretty much it. It goes from the back page to the end of the ceremony, how we'll exit and how everything will be there. Do you have any questions, any comments, any suggestions on where we should keep
Mr. Solis,
as it is or open it up?
can you briefly highlight where the board will park and enter from?
Oh, sorry. You guys will park behind the football field. I'm sorry, the field house.
Sure.
That'll be your parking spot. You will have a green room for yourself. We'll have some water in there, and with the AC going on, that way you'll stay cool. So it won't be out in the heat like last year. We were all standing outside last year in the heat. The seniors will use the field house as well to get ready and be dropped off, and it'll be cool in there. That we want that long walk from the library all the way to the high school, which it can be kind of hot in this time of year. So we'll all stay in the AC. This year we got people in the building. Last year we weren't allowed to have students in the facility, so a little different, which is going to be helpful. So we'll all be nice and cool until that moment to go out there, which is be right around 8 o'clock. By then the sun will be a little lower and be a little cooler.
The only question, I have, is there any requirements, restrictions from TEA on graduation and how many people we have there?
The only thing that's there is the guidance from last year, which says minimize or limit capacity, keeping the 6 feet. They have not updated that since last year.
So is there an issue of what we can just open it up for normal?
Some districts have proceeded with that with full masks. Some are maintaining the 3 feet rule. So certainly, if everyone keeps their masks on, I don't see a problem. And TEA again is a guidance; it's not a requirement. So we can go full blown and just ask people to keep their masks on.
Catula's doing the social distancing and spacing and limiting the crowd. Pearsall, they're doing open, no restrictions.
Me personally don't have an issue with just opening it up for people to showing up. But that's just me.
Feedback from the board.
I don't have a problem, nationally match requirement, but I let them, go up there and say it. I think in the end it'll average out. Some will bring a large party,
And some may not.
and some will just bring the smaller family.
It would make it easier on our end if it was open. We wouldn't have to do the tickets. We wouldn't have to go through all that monitoring. I think we'll still do it. Yeah, just do the three.
Because we're so close and not know who's vaccinated, that would be my recommendation. I know outdoors you're a lot more safe.
Well, but the thing is somebody gonna monitor them if we're requiring them to wear masks?
I don't-
I've attended stuff for
Yeah.
school, and there's people out there that, in our community, that are not using them.
I just don't feel we need to go be the mask police at graduation, making sure people have masks. Because,
To control. Because if you say it's required, then that's a different thing, but if we say, like JD says, no, well, let it be, but if we say we have to, then you,
It's required, but at the end of the day, we can't,
if nobody's gonna monitor it,
We can require and remind, and I really believe most folks are going to help us out. If we have some that don't, but most are, I still think we're going to be fine. Outdoors is relatively safe.
You're gonna have those.
Stuff here in school that
Yeah.
people don't have it on.
I could say while they're in a group of 10, they could take their mask off, but when they move around, interact, they gotta put the mask back on. We can advertise it that way, but there's still no way we're gonna enforce anything on them.
I like to see it open too. I mean,
Okay.
I like to see it open and
Because the
that's
whole
required,
community comes to see our kids, even if it's the family.
it's on the honor system.
Open it is.
open it.
All right.
makes it easier, right, sir?
Makes it easy for me. Now we're gonna throw all the tickets away. We put it.
Recycle.
They're about to hand them out. And no,
Yay.
hand them out. And they're gonna hold me tonight. And everything will change.
Sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. And for our summer academy, we have 94 students that have been invited due to grades and attendance right now. We're doing our semester exam evaluations, which we're going to use as data purposes to identify additional students to invite to summer school under our tier 2, which is academic loss. I do have 11 teachers signed up to do summer school. My challenge is the core teachers. I only have 3 core teachers to handle all that, and right now I'm needing 3 sections of Algebra 1, 2 of Algebra 2, and 2 of Geometry, and my math teacher will only work half a day right now. So I'm gonna have to do some creative things with scheduling and find somebody to teach math. It may be me teaching math for a couple of sessions during summer school. We have enough electives for the enrichment part, but I have to get that core covered and then move them out into their electives. Any other questions for me?
No, sir.
Okay,
Thank
all right.
you.
I can throw all this away?
Hey, Dr. Castro, I want to.
Yes, sir.
I have a comment.
Yes, sir.
Ties back into the principal report agenda. Are we allowing or encouraging our leadership in our schools, like our principals, assistant principals, to attend like trainings and conferences to further their skills in the leadership role?
Absolutely. And this year's been a little bit strange because any and most of those trainings have been virtual. We've done a lot of in-house training with principals all year. I've led the majority of that training. In the fall, in the spring, we've now balanced where principals are taking a lot of the lead. We have done in working on the curriculum management plan. Our district does not have a curriculum management plan, and what does that mean? Here's how we work our supportive teachers to ensure standards alignment, to ensure best practices are being supported, trained, modeled, etc. Here's the resources we have for them. Here's videos that are so all those in one place. We don't have that. So we've been working on putting that together and creating our curriculum management plan. That's been one of the heaviest trainings we have. But certainly, as we move forward to more opportunities, it's going to be important for us to not only support and encourage that, but to use those trainings for the learning acceleration. So this year has been not super available because of COVID, but I'm always a big fan of professional development.
I'm not saying that they're not doing a good job, but you feel
Grow and expand, absolutely. Yes, sir.
I'm sure there's some type of principles, academies, or leadership trainings that they can attend. Go to.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Any other questions? If not, we're moving on to transportation facilities.
Yes, ma'am. Madam President, members of the board, the transportation facilities reports are regularly, that you receive regularly each month. Nothing huge or significant there. There, again, just the one big piece, the truck is out of the transmission, but the rest of it is pretty standard monthly updates. If there's any questions on that, I will entertain those now.
I had a question on the, when we send these buses out for service or oil change, are we following a certain criteria?
Maintenance prevention? A maintenance prevention?
Well, main prevention means that we're sending it out. But I'm saying when it gets to the shop, shop one uses one certain kind of oil. Okay, shop number two uses different kind of oil, different kind of filters. So I don't know if we're asking these people to stick to a certain kind of motor oil, certain kind of filter, so we can have a unified pattern on these buses or vehicles. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, I saw one south or here by Limons. Then I saw another one north, going out of town at a shop. So I don't know if he was getting something maintenance or what they were doing there. Yeah. I'm just saying, let's try to stick to a certain kind of oil, a certain kind of filter, so we can have something.
If one brand is cheaper in one spot than the other? But like Frank's saying though, if one place, A shop is using conventional and B shop is using synthetic.
Well, that's the thing, but it's the same thing, 5W30 conventional or,
No, it's not.
No, but I'm saying like, what if the manufacturer suggested, like they use the suggestion.
Well,
But the only problem is, you can use conventional, but once you go to synthetic, you're not supposed to go back to conventional, and that's what the problem, and also be a big price difference.
yeah.
That's a big problem, we're going from synthetic to conventional.
Yeah, I mean,
But they should be following whatever
I don't
guidelines
know. I'm just saying.
are for those vehicles. I mean,
Yeah, I
where
understand.
they go to get the best deal or whatever, depending on, I mean, my understanding was we were supposed to try to give everybody as much business as possible locally. So as long as they're abiding by whatever stipulates for that certain vehicle, what does it matter where they go to?
No, I'm not saying doesn't matter where they go, as long as they stick to a certain kind of oil. You're not going to put me a cheaper brand of oil than
But whoever's taking care of the maintenance part,
that has to
They
be
should
brought
know.
up to the person that's doing the job. I understand. Hey, we want to stick to. I'm just saying mobile. I want to stick to Fram oil filters. I want to stick to Fleet Line oil filters. Okay, can you do it? Yes, I can. Okay, here's the job. I'm just saying that
Yeah,
we have to keep some kind of
consistency.
consistency what we're using on these vehicles. I don't know if that might help us with warranties and maintenance down the line.
Well, you would think that would be part of their preventive
We
maintenance.
don't use a specific vendor, we just take them to whoever.
Yeah, whoever. Yeah.
Yeah, let me look into that and find out
Yes, sir.
what our
Yes, sir.
schedule is, and I'll certainly report back to the board.
Do,
You're saying you can still take it, but we need to require them to use this vendor.
but that's something that has to be documented in some kind of form that maintenance is being done.
That's correct.
That is
What
correct.
are they using? Because what if you don't have, the person in charge of maintenance, if he leaves us, whoever's taking up needs to know exactly what they were doing, but if it's not documenting some kind of form or so, they're not gonna know, or ask wherever you take them what to use.
That's why it refers back to the preventive maintenance, because
Yes.
there should be a guide that tells you what oil they should be using.
Yeah, yeah.
What type of, filters and so forth.
Yeah.
And that, really, that paper should go along, I would think, go along with whoever's taking that vehicle to whatever
What kind of
shop.
what kind of oil did you use?
Yes.
What kind of filter did you use?
And if we don't have something in that format, sir, we need to get it. Alrighty,
Absolutely, thank you.
anything else? If not, we have the consent agenda, which is all in your board packet. Anybody have any questions? If no questions, do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as provided.
Motion's been made by Kay Smith. Seconded by Juanita Alvarez. All in favor? None opposed. Motion carries. Next, we have, go into executive session. At this time, we will convene into executive session at 7:50 PM. At this time, does any board member have a motion regarding the grievance?
Yes, Madam President, I move that the board deny the request for the level 3 grievance filed by Ms. Amber Garza de Leon.
Motion's been made by Mr. Ray Aranda,
I second it.
seconded by J.D. Rodriguez. All in favor? None opposed. Motion carries. At this time, thank you for your cooperation. This grievance matter is concluded. Thank you. Okay. Look, we have to go back into executive. Are we ready? We will now reconvene back into executive session at 8:53 p.m.